Hello and welcome to Creature Club. It's a weekly podcast all about the monsters of Dungeons & Dragons. Every week we take a monster from the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons book. We talk about what it is, how it works, and how we might use it. I am your host, Daniel, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mikey.
Hello, I am here again.
Full disclosure, I almost accidentally said Mikey when I was going to say I'm your host, Daniel.
Okay, I'm your host, Mikey.
My brain was like Mikey, and I'm like, no, that's like I know that's wrong. Like
we've done this one before. I think we've done this where you say that you're Mikey, or you say that.
I say I'm someone else. I steal someone's
Mikey.
identity.
I am Mikey. I think I did like I am Mikey, and this is Mikey, or something. Or
I think that's correct. You introduced everyone as Mikey.
Maybe
that was good.
I don't remember, but it just you do all these podcasts, and sometimes you're bound to history's bound to repeat itself a little bit. So
that is true. We are bordering frighteningly close to collectively 100 episodes.
Oh my god, really?
I mean, we're on 80 something, and we've done villain squads and treasure trove, so we're pretty close. And also, yeah. So
I
think
been so long. We've done this so long. How are we still doing this? I don't know, but like it's great. But just
I mean, yeah, it's mad. Like it's one of those things where I feel like when we sort of came up with the idea and we're like, yeah, this would be a bit of fun. I think we had no idea the scale of the project we were undertaking.
Yeah. It's the one project I think I've done the consistent amount, I think.
Yeah.
So, and I would have to thank yourself and Tim for that, because if it was just myself, I would be like, I'll get bored of it and be like, I'm done. And then like,
oh yeah. And I think the same is true for both of us. Like, I think we all help hold each other accountable. And I think, it helps you, dear listener. I think it helps knowing that there's people out there who go, this is a bit of fun, it's nice to listen to and I enjoy
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
And I think when you have that sort of like, like not necessarily a pressure thing, but more like sure, it's kind of nice to make something and know that other people are enjoying it.
Absolutely. Like just being out, like when we hear from any of you just saying, I listen and I like it, then it's like, cool, that means someone's listening to it and we can keep making it. Or if we make it, then at least someone's going to hear it. So that's cool. It's great. Anyway, what are we doing, Dan? What's today's episode?
Today's episode is the flamey scully boy, the Flameskull.
Skull of Flame.
Episode 82 for the record, Mikey. So yeah, we are getting dangerously close to 100.
Jesus. That's just a Creature Club.
I know. If we've done 18 episodes collectively of our other stuff, then that's 100.
Oh god.
I don't know if we've been counting. I don't know if someone else was counting for us and went congratulations or something, but whatever.
It's on Spotify. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you can see it there. Of like it's
that's true. Yeah, track number 100.
Excellent, great. All right, Flameskull. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's talk about this. So first of all, for the folks at home, what it looks like is that if you ever looked in the back of like a metalhead's jacket or like a biker's jacket, you've most likely seen this one. It's just a skull that's on fire, and it looks like it's yelling at you and screaming at you. It's just so it has a bit of attitude to it.
It's got a bad attitude.
It's basically Ghost Rider, but without the body. Or Flaming Skull from Marvel. This is the conversation we got up to before all this. But yes, it's basically Ghost Rider without the body. That's it. Like that's just the imagery.
Yeah, no, I like it's a skull with sort of a wreath of flame around it.
Yeah.
It's interesting actually. Like the second. So this, I'll jump right into the history. I'll get us started for God's sake.
Hear it. Yeah.
So this is not a monster from first edition. Because obviously this is such a complex idea. They had to really plumb the depths of their creativity to come with the concept of what if the skull was on fire, and also just mad as heck. No, I'm being silly, of course. It just originated from second edition instead. It's interesting because the second edition depiction is kind of, it is properly like that is the back of a metalhead's jacket when you're standing behind them in line at Tesco. I'm going to send on the image to you now for reference.
And then we'll put this on the Twitter, Creature Club Pod, at Creature Club Pod on Twitter. We'll put it up underneath the episode listening.
Yeah, we will. Because it is just, it's one of those things where like, I feel like the reference image was literally like, two artists in a room, and like one of them's kind of a metalhead, so he just like the other guy leans over and just copies the back of his jacket. He's even got the fucking like DreamWorks eyebrows or something going on. Like
he looks like Eddie. He looks like from Iron Maiden.
Actually, Jesus.
It looks like Iron Maiden. It's great. I love it.
And then just for comparison, because we're making fun of it, this is the 3rd edition art, which is probably my favorite. And we'll also post this under the disc, under the Twitter.
Under the Twitter. Yeah, it'll just be on the Twitter at Crucial Pod. That's a cool one too. I like that. That's fun.
See, that one's cool, and it's kind of so yeah. It was originally introduced in 2nd edition, and you kind of had this, like you say, Eddie, and then they got a bit more kind of they sort of found their footing and a bit more of a unique identity in 3rd, 4th, and now in 5th edition. The flames around the skull are always green. And that's kind of their unique moniker.
Zelda, anyway, the Zelda crowd must have got it from this, or it's like just the general cultural fantasy osmosis of a flaming skull, because in Ocarina of Time you have the green skull foes heads, flaming skulls in there, and you have I think they must have been in other Zelda games before that. I'd say I don't remember.
I don't know the previous Zelda games that well, but I think that's a really good point. That maybe that's what the reference is. That it's perhaps an homage to the Legend of Zelda,
the leg end of Zelda,
and it would have been definitely inspired because, according to this book here, the original print date of the original print date of the book that it first featured the Flameskulls in 3rd edition was February 2005. So that's well after.
Who knows?
So it may well be that whoever was doing the art or whoever was writing up the description was inspired by memories of playing Ocarina of Time.
Maybe.
Didn't even like kind of consciously realize it, but just went, oh yeah. Kind of like had that image in their head.
And what you have in front of you on your monster manual, that's like, green flame. I like the green flame. The green flame is very cool.
Yes, and it's immediately distinct. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But obviously you can do whatever color flame you want, it's up to you. It's up to you. Do you have more on other editions?
I'll speed wildly through the history. So obviously
I will obtain speed. Sorry.
No, it's fine. In the 2nd edition book, in the Monstrous Compendium, and then after that it showed up in a book, in a campaign book. It didn't show up in the 3rd edition monster manual. Showed up in Lost Empires of Faerun, the ruin-based campaign.
The ruin-based campaign, yep.
I was laughing at this before we started recording. Just something about, imagine telling your players, this is a ruin-based campaign. So it's like, thanks.
Just a quick explanation of this. We were talking about this. We're just having a laugh before we started recording. And what does it say? Like, when does it say it on that book?
So to be clear, what happens is you open this book called Lost Empires of Faerun. You get your credits, you get your title page, you get your table of contents, and then introduction. The first thing you see is in big text, the ruin-based campaign, and like just the idea of that being the first thing you read of oh, good.
And just you open it up like, oh, I don't know. Ruins. I don't know if people are into that as much. So
yeah, I don't know. I think I just found that so like it's so direct. It's like it's like, what is it? Horde of the Dragon Queen, the dragon-based campaign. It's like I did figure like I can't read but thank you. So yeah, I found that very silly. But anyway, first it shows up in that. That's actually its first appearance in 3rd edition, as far as I can find. I don't know why it shows up here. I think because it's a ruin-based campaign, with the implication being that you'd encounter things like Flameskulls in the ruins of buildings and dungeons and stuff like that. That's where the cool art comes from. In 4th edition, it gets a promotion, goes right back to the monster manual. And in fact, you get 2 Flameskulls. You get Flameskull and Great Flameskull.
Ooh. Is that just bigger and stronger?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just bigger. It's not even that much bigger, disappointingly.
It's like, goes from like small to large.
It's actually worse. Flameskull is tiny and Great Flameskull is just small.
All right. Okay.
It's not even like big, like it's not even bigger than a dude. It's like, it's the same size as like a halfling or something.
Yeah.
Which is big for a skull, but I mean for a great skull.
So yeah, so it's the size of the skull of maybe I don't know, particularly big pro wrestler or something.
Like the size of the skull of maybe not an elephant, but maybe like a rhinoceros.
Yeah, rhinoceros. That sounds good. That'll be fun. Making a rhinoceros skull. That'll be great.
That would be cool. Yeah. And then and that's it. And then it shows up in 5th edition. In terms of lore, it doesn't really have any. It's an undead, so it's kind of just like magic. And then
a wizard
they're alive. And that's thank you for coming.
Thank you for playing my game.
Yeah. There's some interesting stuff where in the previous editions of the game there was discussion of the idea that they were limited to only spells with verbal components because they're a mouth and they don't have any fingers to wiggle, which I kind of like. I think that's cute. The idea that they have like certain spell restrictions.
Yeah.
But it's not present.
I just like the fingers to wiggle because, of course, with like magic, you gotta wiggle your fingers.
Yeah,
sometimes.
exactly. Yeah,
That's how it works.
You just sort of
Yeah.
the little sort of sparkly effect. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's you doing magic.
That's magic. Yeah.
Stop him. But yeah, so I thought that was funny. And other than that, there's not a lot to discuss.
All right.
There's discussions of in previous editions of like basically, well, there's some small differences to the lore here, but we can maybe cover that when we read through it.
Speaking of which, I shall read through it right now myself.
Excellent.
Flameskull, blazing green flames and mad echoing laughter follow a disembodied skull as it patrols its demon. Is that how you pronounce that?
That is correct. You nailed it, man.
When the undead Flameskull discovers trespassers, it blasts the intruders with fiery rays from its eyes and dreadful spells called up from the dark recesses of its memories. Dark spellcasters fashion Flameskulls from the remains of dead wizards. When the ritual is complete, green flames erupt from the skull to complete its ghastly transformation. Legacy of life. A Flameskull only dimly recalls its former life. Though it might speak in its old voice and recount key events from its past, it is but an echo of its former self. However, its undead transformation grants its full access to the magic it wielded in life, letting it cast spells while ignoring the material and somatic components it can no longer employ. So that's what you're saying there, Dan, where
it's technically just a mouth, so it can't use those.
Yes, but it's saying they can ignore it now. So
rather than previously in the 2nd edition introduction, it says they can only cast spells that they can it says they can cast spells by verbal means only is the way the rules are written. So it sort of says like they're spellcasters, they can only cast these kind of spells. They normally have these sorts of spells. And there's also an interesting thing where it says they can't cast any mind control spells, which I assume means like charms, presumably because they're charmed themselves, like they're controlled undead, so they can't control other people.
And it says it keeps their former voice, which I don't like. Because in my head, Flameskulls always sound like Skeletor,
Yes.
Always like have that Flameskull kind of voice, it's always that in my head.
Yeah,
but it's up to you. I guess.
You really can't engage with the tragedy of the Flameskull because it is a flaming skull.
Yeah,
it's just coming at you, and you're like, what? And just being like the tragedy of and you're like, no, I kill it with an ice beam, and it's like, okay,
all right, cool, XP.
Okay.
All right, what we got next?
Okay.
Go ahead, Dan.
Eternally bound, intelligent and vigilant, a Flameskull serves its creator by protecting a hidden treasure hoard, secret chamber, or a specific individual. A Flameskull carries out the directives given to it when it was created, and it interprets those commands to the letter. A Flameskull's master must craft its instructions with care to ensure that the creature carries out its tasks properly.
Interesting. I like that one. That's kind of
a bit of sort of legal fun.
Yeah, a bit of legal fun with your undead, which you don't really see a whole lot of in D&D, really, or in D&D lore. But I like that. That's fun. It's kind of cool. Wreathed in flame. The fire wreathing a Flameskull burns continually, giving off a bright light that the creature controls. It uses those flames as a weapon, focusing them to loose them as fiery rays from its eye socket. That's metal.
It shouldn't say focusing them to loose them.
It shouldn't.
It should say focusing. It should say focusing to loose them as fiery rays.
Focus Does it wait? So does it say different for you, or is it
No,
just
no.
a general?
Yeah, it
like,
says that, but it's bad English to say focusing them to loose them,
But yeah, in focusing them to loose them as fiery rays from its them eye sockets. Added the last them.
It's one of those things where, like, I remember in secondary school, our English teacher really drilled us about, like, how English sentences, like, should sound. And when you do stuff like, say, focusing them to loose them, it's, like, unnecessary repetition.
Yes.
Because it's the same them, you only need it once. You could actually just literally remove either and just say either focusing them to loose as fiery rays from its eye sockets, or focusing to loose them as fiery rays from its eye sockets. And either sounds fine, but using them twice makes the sentence unnatural.
I think focusing to loose them or focusing them to loose as fire rays, I think it's just a weird way of describing it, but I don't think they wanted to say shoots fiery laser beams out of its eyes. I think they kind of wanted to be a bit more, poetic with its language. So
then they should have used like terms like, ire and gaze and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. I just when this stuff comes up, I want to like be like, hey,
yeah, you have to.
This is how English. This is, you got to pay attention to stuff like this, because that's how you get. That's how you create the next generation of. We're going to be inspiring the people who make D&D 6th edition, Mikey.
Are we? Is that our goal?
They're going to hate us, man.
We're inspiring them to do the opposite of what we're saying. All right, Eldritch Rejuvenation. I was almost through it.
You were.
I realized I said Eldritch Rejuvenate.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I can't do this show.
It's also my turn to read.
Oh, it is. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
It's fine. You can read if you like.
It's all right. I don't know why it's always me reading. I hate doing this reading part.
I'm happy to read instead. It was just funny.
It's okay.
It was just funny because it was like, oh yeah, I'll read this, and then like you started. I was like, oh no, Mikey wants to read it, and I wondered for a second if you were like stopping because you realized like, oh, I should have let Dan read. But
I didn't even think that.
No, it's fine. It's just.
But please read it, please.
I will.
Thank you, Dan. All right.
Eldritch Rejuvenation. A Flameskull's shattered fragments reform unless they are splashed with holy water or subjected to a dispel magic or remove curse spell. If it can no longer fulfill its intended purpose, the reformed Flameskull is beholden to no one and becomes autonomous.
Ooh, okay. So that adds a bit of fun there, where you can do different Flameskulls where it's either like under the control of a powerful wizard or whatever, undead lord, lich, whatever you want to do, or just like, it's autonomous now, and it's living its own life basically. So you can kind of do whatever you want with that one. I like that. It's cool. Kind of opens it up for you.
And then finally, it just says undead nature. A Flameskull doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep.
Makes sense.
Yeah, which is just conventional undead rules. Like, they work kind of like you expect.
Although it does enjoy a nice glass of chocolate milk every morning. Doesn't need it.
Not?
Doesn't need it, but enjoys it.
Sure, he can have as much as he likes. The calories don't go anywhere. So
absolutely, it's just a skull head.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, excellent. So that's what's written on the book about it. We got a few bits of characterization and a few bits of identity for it. But how about we just hop into the stat block and then kind of talk more about it as the stat block goes on.
Agreed.
All right, meat and potatoes. I'll go through a bit of it, then I'll start us off.
Yeah,
Flameskull, tiny undead, neutral evil. Armor class 13, hit points 40, 94 plus 18. Speed 0 feet, but it can fly 40 feet because, a skull can't walk, but it can fly with magic. Strength 1, dexterity 17, constitution 14, intelligence 16, wisdom 10, charisma 11. So, once again, it's a skull. It can't... It can't attack, I guess, as Like, it can't do a physical
Yeah,
attack.
it can't physically assail you. Like, yeah.
No, it's not going to win, but it has magic. It has spells. Skills. Arcana +5. Perception +2. Damage resistances. Lightning, necrotic, and piercing. That's resistances. And it has immunities as well. Cold, fire, and poison. So, don't throw any of that stuff at it. Condition immunities. Charmed, frightened, paralyzed, and poisoned. Is that kind of like a regular undead thing? The 4 of them?
Yeah, the 4 of them are normal. Yeah, undead, yeah.
Cool. So bog standard stuff there. Senses dark vision 60 and passive perception 12. That's fine. Language is common, which is kind of interesting. But I'd say if you wanted to do, like, let's say, like a Dragonborn's, like a Dragonborn Flameskull with like a dragon kind of head, maybe you could give it like draconic language in there as whatever it had before in its life. But I'd say mainly it's common. But I'd say with a Dragonborn Flameskull, you would have like its flame breath maybe as well. Kind of a bit of...
Ooh, that'd be fun.
We're going into different things here, but let's stick on the block that we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Challenge rating 4, and that's 1,100 experience points for you.
Oh, great.
Did you like that the first half of the stat block down?
I did. I am interested in its damage resistances. Piercing, I think, is because it's a skeleton. Like skeletons, if I recall correctly, they normally resist piercing, but they're vulnerable to bludgeoning. Yeah. Because, like, you know, you can't use a rapier effectively on a skeleton because it's got no organs, but you can break its bones because it's all bones.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, like, let's say if you're using a rapier or something, or a spear, like, I don't know if this makes much sense, but in my head it does, where maybe if you're trying to stab it, it can just fly around and dodge you easier, I think, because it's just a smaller head, maybe.
Yeah. Or, like, yeah, it could just be that because it's magically assembled anyway, like, you know, breaking through its sort of structure doesn't matter as much. And lightning is unusual. Necrotic, I understand, because it's undead. Cold, fire, and poison, I understand, because it's poison makes sense because it can't be poisoned. Yeah. Because it's not alive. It doesn't have organs to poison. And then fire because it's on fire. And then cold is, I guess, one interpretation of a creature that has fire. You know, either it's immune to cold or it's vulnerable to cold. And in this case, it's immune to cold. 1 strength, so I don't know. That's unfortunate, but it does also. I don't know. I don't think it'll matter. Like,
no, I don't think it's going to be lifting anything at any point.
And yeah, on what you said, Mikey, about common, it's interesting that you mentioned that, just because one of the first lines in the 2nd edition book is with regards to that. It says, Flameskulls can speak common and up to 14 other languages they knew in life.
Ah, excellent.
So it explicitly calls out that thing you said of, like, the idea of, like, if it was, say, a dwarven skeleton or a dragon skeleton, it would have languages from that in addition to common. You could also interpret it that maybe it doesn't have common unless the creator knows common or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe the creator can explicitly make it so that it doesn't speak common. You know, there's lots of things, but again, that's outside the realm of what we have here on the book.
Yes.
I'll get started in reading the abilities.
Go for it.
Starting with illumination. The Flameskull sheds either dim light in a 15-foot radius or bright light in a 15-foot radius and dim light for an additional 15 feet. It can switch between the options as an action. So that's just that it casts light. It can cast more light or less light. In terms of its senses, it has dark vision, so it probably... I don't know if it cares. Because its dark vision is, like, further than its light anyway, but if it's the only source of light, then I guess
maybe light up the room for its friends. For all those Flameskull friends it has.
Oh, that's nice. Just a big party of lads.
Yep.
Magic resistance. The Flameskull has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Standard issue. It's a creature made by magic, kind of like a Golem.
Just like a Golem. Yeah.
Just like a Golem. And as a result, it resists magic because it does. Because, you know, it has to have something. Rejuvenation. If the Flameskull is destroyed, it regains all its hit points in an hour unless holy water is sprinkled on its remains, or a dispel magic or remove curse spell is cast on them. Yeah, that's basically what we heard in the thingy. Go on.
I just saying I like a stat block. I like a weakness. I like that where it's strong and like you probably be able to beat it anyway, but like just it has a weakness. Throw some holy water on it, cast a certain spell, and then it's like worse. Like I like that. It's a very simple way of beating it. It's cool.
Yeah, I agree. I like it too. If I had let's finish this part and then I can talk about that.
Go ahead.
Spell casting. The Flameskull is a 5th level spellcaster. Congratulations. Its spellcasting ability is. Do we level up? No. Is intelligence. Spell save DC 13 plus 5 to hit with spell attacks. It requires no somatic or material components to cast its spells, as we have covered. The Flameskull has the following wizard spells prepared. It is a wizard. Cantrip, Mage Hand, so it can use Mage Hand, which makes sense because it only has 1 strength and no hands, so it just lets it do stuff.
Yeah.
Pick things up, open doors, pull levers, light torches, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or I guess you could use its head to light torches. First level, 3 slots, Magic Missile and Shield. Standard issue, good spells if you are a caster. Second level, 2 slots, Blur and Flaming Sphere. Blur is kind of surprising. Well, I guess it could be like Heat Shimmer. But
I prefer Oasis. Sorry.
You round the corner in the dungeon before you. A green skull burns and calls out, "Oasis or Blur?"
Blur. I mean Oasis.
Oasis. The Flameskull casts Flaming Sphere. Flaming Sphere, which is a roly-poly ball of fire. One of my favorite. I actually can't remember if this is real or if it's just one of those things where like my brain has invented it. But I kind of remember there's a funny thing in Pathfinder where when it describes flaming sphere, I think it describes the sphere as having a spongy texture, and that's like one of those things that just sticks in my head forever. Like,
what?
Yeah, just like so flaming sphere is you cast it and you make a ball of fire, and then as a bonus action you can roll the ball of fire around the map and run people over, basically.
Yeah. And what were you going to say about Blur before I interrupted you there? What does Blur do?
Blur is just, it's like you kind of shimmer in place.
Yeah.
And so creatures have disadvantage to attack you unless they're not using their sight. Like if they're like a cool blinded character that's like using their preternatural senses. Or they have the ability to see through an illusion, for example, because it's an illusory spell.
Yes. Okay.
So that's all it does. And like, as I say, yeah, it sort of surprises me because it doesn't feel as thematic, but it could be themed as kind of heat shimmer. So like, I guess it's actually fine. And it's also like pragmatic. And finally, 1 3rd level slot, which can only be used to cast Fireball.
Actually, it's pretty easy. I like his spells. I love for a, challenge rating 4 5th level spellcaster monster. I think they're just generally good spells, really, because I think any character would like to have Magic Missile, Shield, and Fireball. So,
yeah, and they're all very straightforward, and it's immediately apparent what they're doing.
It has actions, 2 actions, multi-attack. The Flameskull uses Fire Ray twice, and that's its 2 actions. It gets to do the same action.
Fired Ray.
Fire Ray, fire him, get him out of here. No, get it. He's doing his job bad. Get him out of here. Everybody doesn't love Raymond here. Fire Ray. Range spell. +5 to hit. Range 30. 1 target. Hit 10 or 3d6 fire damage. So just a hit. An attack. It has a few cool abilities and it has some spells, but here's an attack, a non-magic attack it can do. So and that's it. And that's the block.
And that's the block.
How's the block?
How's the block? I'm thinking about how it can't illuminate enough room to see, and like my brain is just kind of fixed on that in a weird way. Like I don't know why. Like it shouldn't matter, and I guess it doesn't, because like a person can hold a torch and see less far even with dark vision. But yeah, so I'm just thinking about how like even if he's all lit up, he can only see 30 feet away. Because if it's too dark, you can't see. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, sorry, no, hang on. Apologies. I forgot that dark vision is you just treat every darkness level as one brighter. So he can see in total darkness as if it's dim light, which means you can still like make out shapes and stuff.
Okay.
So I guess in that case, I don't really know why he would use his bright light unless he was trying to find something close by.
I guess it just makes sense for him to have it. I guess that's why they
Yeah,
put it there.
That's true. Yeah, and it's not a big deal. I'm just curious about it. It's just one of those things that my brain gets stuck on.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
so
fine.
the illumination, and then for the rejuvenation, I totally agree with you with the whole. It's always great when a monster has a weakness. Creating a context where a monster isn't just something that is defeated, kind of by like just reducing their hit points, but instead has a puzzle element to it.
Yeah.
And I think sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because with that, you like a monster can be. How come this monster keeps healing itself? We got to do something about that. How can we fix it? And like, I don't know, like, and you can figure it out, like, and then look, maybe just a little history check or something like, oh, the holy water works, like, or not history, whatever. But I throw holy water on it or something, and then or it's undead. That'll do the trick, and then it's gets rid of the healing, and just I like monsters like that where. You can easily just beat them and you can like wail on them, which a lot of players would do. But there's a way to make it go faster, and there's a way to kind of like add to the fantasy. I like it. Well, go ahead. You had a point.
My only point was I think that because so it says if the Flameskull is destroyed, it regains all its hit points in an hour, and I think basically that's too long to matter.
Yes.
Unless the players are wherever they are with the Flameskull for a very long time. Like in reality, if they are passing through a dungeon and moving reasonably quickly, then like they might never encounter the Flameskull again.
I guess so.
Just and obviously the context of D&D has like short rests and long rests, and those take an hour or 8 hours. So there is the sense of like if they rested in the dungeon, that would give the Flameskull an opportunity to come back. So that's something, but I just think like I almost feel like instead of just an hour, it should say a minute, because I think that would produce the same effect of like the monster is, if you kill the monster in the encounter, it is gone for the rest of the encounter, but it's still a problem outside of this fight. It's like kind of the context is like it's not a fight problem, it's a duzzle problem. It's a duzzle problem. I couldn't say that. A duzzle problem. I couldn't say
a typo in the group chat.
Typo with my fucking mouth. It's a dungeon puzzle. It's like there's an issue with the dungeon, which is that it's full of Flameskulls and they come back after an hour. So you need to either go through it really quickly and smash as many as you can quickly, or you need to avoid them, or you need to bring lots of holy water.
And that's a fun surprise to the players, I think, where it's like they're resting and then like, I'm back, and like, oh,
yes, yeah, exactly.
How are you back? We killed you.
And so that's the reason I think like instead of it being an hour, it should be a minute, maybe. I only say that because the options to destroy it are quite varied, in that they are holy water, dispel magic, or remove curse, and like 2 of the 7, 9, 8. So 2 of the classes in the game can just make holy water.
Yes.
With enough time. And out of the remaining however many, a lot of them are spellcasters, and a good number of those get access to either dispel magic or remove curse.
I'll be honest with you, Dan. When it comes to rejuvenation, I think I just assumed what it was before I actually listened and read it. I thought it was the healing thing,
Oh yeah, like a troll, like where it heals up as you fight it.
Yes, I thought it was kind of something like that. Which could be cool too. Every turn,
it could do both.
It gets like 2 hit points or whatever amount it's will actually help a CR4. But yes, but that would be cool, and adding something like that in there if you wanted.
But yeah, so that's my only thoughts. It's just that I wonder if an hour is too long. And this also does remind me of like one of the things I think is kind of a shame about Holy Water in 5th edition is that it kind of doesn't, it does a cool thing here, but it doesn't do like a generic cool thing. Like it just deals damage if you splash it on somebody, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
which I always think is kind of a shame because it feels like whenever I think of like holy water in fiction, it's always a really like it's a trump card against the forces of undeath. Like it's a legitimate moment of like we have something prepared and we can deal with it. But because D&D has such like high scaling, I think holy water deals like whatever 2d6 damage or something. So like even at this stage, this guy would just be like 2d6. I just shrug off 2d6. I don't care.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of like beating it and then just like you gotta make sure you spray with holy water before you go, and then you just drop some holy water on it, and then and then if you run to more, you do the same thing. Or if you're a paladin or something, maybe just a quick little prayer of like, all right, you're gone now for real, and then that's it.
Yes, it's also interesting. Yeah, I wonder, like, it'd be interesting if you kind of said, like, you can use your channel divinity to destroy it. That'd be kind of cool as well. But yeah, so anyway, other than that, I think it's a shame that it doesn't have, like, a fiery bite move. Like, where it tries to bite you and maybe sets you on fire. And it doesn't deal a lot of damage, but then you're on fire and you're just like, fuck. Like,
yeah. Not a whole lot of strength, though, to do that, but I guess it could be a dex move.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, that's what I was thinking, kind of a bite, like, because that's kind of dexy, like, that it's like, and maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it's fine as it is.
No, it seems thematic. I like it, because it looks like he's going for a bite in the picture.
Yeah, I was just because he's got the open mouth, and also just because, he's got nothing but teeth and eyes. Like,
yes.
That's kind of it.
Use what he has. Yeah,
you've got to use every advantage you have. This is the thing.
That's the block. Shall we hop into the next part?
Yes, we shall.
Let's do it. Okay, so the Matrix room. We haven't. Have we done this in a while? Have we done the Matrix room?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, it feels weird saying the Matrix room now that they're making another Matrix.
They're making another Matrix. I know.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it was okay when it's like, hey guys, remember the movie series from the early 2000s, The Matrix? Well, we're going to reference that when we talk about the context of using a blank map and try to describe a fight in abstract where it doesn't represent any specific fight with sort of, the terrain and the context that would surround a normal game. We're kind of being more mathematic, and we're talking about the sort of the raw numbers. And the Matrix room was an effective kind of like shorthand. But now they're going to make another Matrix. And when you say Matrix room, the Zoomers are going to be like, you mean the room where like old Keanu shows everyone his butt or something?
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Like, because it turns out that's what happens in the new Matrix. Like, and you're just like, no, that's not, like, what? I'm sorry. Like,
this is the thing about the younger generation, all these new films. We can't use our old terms like Matrix room anymore. So
yeah, and I don't blame the young people. I blame the cowards in Hollywood for always remaking old stuff instead of making new stuff. Just to be clear. But yeah, I just it is weird, right? Like,
it is strange. Well, like, there's no other thing of calling it. I think there's nothing.
Nah, yeah, that's it, it's fine. It is what it is. I certainly, I think I like to believe that our persistent use of the Matrix room was a small but deciding factor in the decision to deciding factor into the people who made the call, bring back the Matrix.
Yes, I think so.
Listening to a niche D&D podcast, and I think it's time.
Yeah, I think it's time. These guys mention the Matrix all the time, every episode. It must still be in the minds of the people today.
I'm telling you, those ruin-based movies, they're out. It's all about the Matrix.
It's all about the Matrix now. The ruin-based ventures. No one wants them anymore.
They're gone.
Okay, speaking of the Matrix room, all right, we got nothing in this except for a Flameskull and a 4 level 4 party. With your fighter, your other fighter, and your fighter rogue, and another fighter rogue, or maybe a wizard in there.
You got your fighter, your fighter rogue, and your fighter paladin.
Yes. Okay. If you need some spells in there,
just for the tiniest bit of healing and spell casting, and that's it.
Yeah. Just the perfect amount of healing for if you're DMing for it. You don't want like
it's the ideal party. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like.
This one. Right. Okay. So we're fighting them. They're gonna get beaten up, right?
It has 40 health and
40
13
health.
AC.
Yeah.
So what happens is it's the fighter's turn, and they go, okay, roll to hit. I got like 17. You're like, yeah, absolutely. They're like, okay, great sword, 2d6 plus 5 for my strength. So that's whatever, 15 damage. And I'm a fighter, so I'll action surge and do it again. And they're like, yeah, he's bloodied. And they're like, what, already? And then the rogue's like, okay, it's my turn. I attack him once with my knife, sneak attack bonus because the fighter's next to him. 1d6, 2d6, 1d4 for the dagger, 2d6 for sneak attack. So plus my dex mod is like another 11 damage. It's kind of low roll. You're like, no, that's it. He's dead. And then the fight's over.
Fight's over.
And they're like, oh, does he like explode when we kill him? It's like, no, he doesn't do anything.
And then he might come back though. He might come back later.
And then maybe your players are like, do we think he's dead for real? I'm like, roll a religion check at that stage. And then they have to figure out if anyone knows how to roll religion.
And that's the paladin's turn because he's like,
and that's because paladin get a turn in combat, so he gets to do something now.
Yeah,
that's the trick. And then the other fighter's fine because he's on his phone anyway, so he doesn't mind that he didn't get a turn.
Yeah, having a cigarette or something.
Having a cigarette, it's the perfect party. So that's what I think happens. I think the Flameskull does not get a turn.
Yeah, that's the Matrix room. That's that one. So, how would we make a Flameskull encounter? Fun or like interesting. We'll say.
Well, off the top of my head, like in terms of the context of how it fights, I mean, see, it's a funny thing because on the one hand, it's able to fly, but on the other hand, it lives underground. So, like, it can't go that high.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, the main advantage of flight is that there's infinite up, but that's not true if you live underground.
Yeah.
So, like, it can kind of fly and it can stay at range, which is what it wants to do. Its basic attack is ranged. It doesn't have any melee spells. It also, interestingly, like, doesn't have any... it's kind of got, like... unsurprisingly, its spells have pretty limited utility. They're mostly just, like, evil bastard spells. The only other thing I can really think of is... so it says that it regains all its hit points in an hour unless holy water is sprinkled on its remains, or dispel magic, or remove curses cast on them. So a very cunning mage could make it very difficult to do that. For example, if the Flameskull was like caged inside something, so that when you destroy it, its remains are inside the cage.
Okay.
And maybe the cage is like, it's like a cage strung up high in the air. So like when you destroy it, the fragments of its skull collapse inside the cage, but then you can't reach the cage, so it'll come back in an hour. But also it is caged, so it can't come after you.
Yeah.
So it's almost at that stage more like a kind of a self-reincarnating watchman / turret.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I just for the record, Mikey, this is another interesting thing I thought, just because it's you're 2 for 2 on this. The Flameskull in 2nd edition had regeneration.
And was it like an actual healing?
Yeah.
Return
It
kind
was.
of thing?
This creature regenerates 1 hit point per round and reassembles even after being shattered, unless dispel magic, exorcise, or remove curse is cast upon their remains, or the majority of the bone fragments are doused with holy water.
I can get it having something like that, even if it's just 1 hit point a turn. Because like if it can heal itself over an hour, then maybe
exactly. It's like
over turns, but less,
because the same energy that reincarnates it should potentially heal it, and even if it is only a hit point a turn, it can still. It is a hit point a turn. It's something.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun encounter idea I have here. Different Flameskulls, different colors, different elements. Because this one seems to be a flame skull. What about like a lightning skull? Yes. Cold skull. We can go like, it's like hot head.
Yes.
And then like, cold shoulder.
Hang on. Yeah, hot head, cold shoulder, or freezer burn.
And like a lightning guy. I have another one about body parts I want to do, but we can talk about the multiple skulls first, different elements. We'll do that one first. But yeah, just use different abilities for each head, really. And I think just a chaotic fight of like small enemies, but lots of them just flying around and doing combo attacks and shooting out different kinds of like abilities actually is fun. I think that's kind of cool. Maybe add some other smaller creatures in there, like crawling claws. It can be in there, kind of hold you down.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
If you're in like a pit in them.
The rest of the skeleton.
Yes, because I had an idea as well of like you before we start recording, you're showing me in one of the books that you're looking there that there's the Dreads, which is
that's also from Ruins of Faerun.
The rune-based adventure, yeah.
Rune-based adventure,
the one, the definitive one.
Sorry, it's not Ruins of Faerun. I keep calling it Ruins of Faerun because it says it's the rune-based campaign. It's called Lost Empires of Faerun.
The Ruins of Faerun.
Ruins of Faerun. The rune-based campaign.
It's the rune-based campaign.
It is rune-based, but it is called Lost Empires. Sorry, go on.
So I'm thinking of an encounter where you're fighting a big skeleton, but each piece is like its own enemy and it's floating around. Basically, like a big Rayman, you know, like a big head, and then like arms flying around, and then legs flying around. It's like, you know, I'm pretty sure that's like a Kingdom Hearts enemy or something, but it's heartless instead of skeletons. But like it's in some game where you have to beat each body part or something, and it's like they're all floating around. But I like it for this. This is cool. You can do it like the Flameskull as the head, and then some dreads as the arms, maybe even like 4 arms or something as well.
Yeah. Like have the legs be more arms, just as a way to kind of mix things up.
Yeah, and then the legs just do big kicks or something. And then maybe like the body or like the torso part has like a core or something in there, and then that like shoots out like a big blast of magic. But if you hit that one, then maybe it's like it weakens the rest of the body parts or something. Yeah.
Or the rib cage is like a big trap vice that like catches you, and the rest of the parts of the body beat you up.
And it catches you and it keeps you in a little like, you know, like restrained in a little cage or something. That's fun. This is cool. I like this encounter. This is fun. So you can do that too.
Flameskull and pals.
Flameskull and pals. Yeah, the entire body. They're all here.
It's all here. Every part of the body. Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to say was that there's a little interesting detail here where it says this again in the second edition book, the book that introduced them. Flameskulls fly about, trailing little jets of flame. They move in complete silence unless uttering spells or screaming for effect. And I thought that was interesting as well. The potential of a Flameskull as a stealth enemy.
Okay.
They have the benefit of being very small, but they are constantly on fire. So I'm not sure. I was kind of thinking, like, I wonder would it be interesting if they were like under something. Like under floorboards or under tiles in the roof, or not tiles in the roof, tiles on the like ground below your feet, and even like a puzzle fight where if you step on the wrong things, you accidentally like make noise and wake them up.
Okay. And if it's under tiles, of course, you won't be able to see it. You won't be able to kind of see the
exactly. Yeah, so I was
through.
thinking, the idea of like blocking out the light.
Yeah, or maybe like the more eagle-eyed like characters who have better perception or something will be like, you think you see maybe a small beam of light come through one of the cracks, and you're like, there's something under there, and then quick, it's a trap. Like,
actually, you know, it'd be really cool.
Let's hear it.
All right, picture the scene. The party are in a city under siege, and they've just arrived at the walls. They've fended off the first wave of the enemy combatants, and then in the distance, beyond the moat, beyond the ditches, they see some enormous steel-clad trebuchets launching tiny, almost like, you know, sort of like a bundle of cannonballs across the city.
I see what you're doing here.
But as they land, they're hollow metal balls, and they crack open, and each one reveals a Flameskull.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Now the city is terrorized by dozens of strange flaming, insane sort of entities, undead entities that are just going around, literally just burning buildings, you know, setting things alight, causing chaos. And even if you slay them, where their remains fall, they'll rise again. And that's one thing in a dungeon, but when you are fighting a siege in the streets, finding the remains of one skull is not an easy thing.
And if they come back after an hour, and then like
over the course of the siege,
over the course of the siege, then maybe it's like you got to figure out how to beat them, or else like the siege will lose. Like you the party might be fine, but like the city will lose.
Exactly.
You know, like
So, it's like, if the party was here and gone in an hour, they'd be gone. But like the city will keep burning every time they come back.
Yes. So they're like, hold on, we gotta figure out a way to do this. So let's put our brains together.
And then, of course, they're all being controlled by the Great Flameskull.
Yes.
Located inside the enemy fortress. So then you have to go there and destroy it.
And I was just thinking, like, also as well, like shooting
and
a big
like
cannon.
Mother Brain. Sorry, go on.
Ooh, that's good one. Yeah, you can go and then you just fight it like Mother Brain in the first Metroid. But I was thinking, like, when you're saying like shooting flame skulls, I'm just looking at the image here, the green flame skull, and it looks like it's being shot at you. You know, so it's just a great image. You know, of like flame skulls. I know you said they were kind of in a ball and they cracked open, but also just kind of shooting flame skulls is pretty metal as well. So it might get hurt though. You know.
That's and also I thought it was kind of interesting that, like, presumably, like, if you fire a metal like a metal projectile, it might do more damage when it hits something. I guess there is the potential trick that you fire flame skulls and they crash and die. They like they explode, but then because they come back in an hour, you just keep firing them, and you're like, they're fine now, but in an hour they'll be fucked. Like,
and that's like. And that way you're doing it there, it's just that's real cool, like iconic image for like a siege where it's like, instead of just you have a bunch of zombies just attacking the walls and breaking through, but this is such a somebody smart came up with this idea, some sort of lich or something, like it's like some
someone
powerful baddie.
They've had a lot of time to think and they know what they're using.
Yes, absolutely. So it's cool. That's very cool. You can do a lot with that. Flameskull Siege. Flameskulls, I think, are really cool for just kind of chaos in an encounter. I think, you know, you can have them like they're spellcasters and they're shooting projectiles and they can fly, so they can really add to the, like, if you can put them in there with other undead and just kind of spice up the battlefield. I think, you know.
Yeah, I think they are best as a, like, part of a larger encounter.
Yes.
Potentially even just as a bodyguard to, like, you know, if we assume that some evil NPC is creating these flame skulls, that their job is just to follow them around. And so it's a case of whenever the party do confront this NPC, there's a flame skull or two in the room already. Or close at hand that can join the battle and just make it more complicated. Right.
Do you have any other quick flame skull ideas off your head before we wrap up? Because we're getting to the hour here.
I've got two final thoughts. First of all, and this is something I like to mention, it can cast Fireball, and it's immune to fire damage, so it can basically use Fireball to, like, self-destruct. It can cast the spell centered on itself and force everyone around to make a save, which can be a nice way to punish people for getting close.
Kind of like the way a evocation mage can kind of cast it around them, you know.
Yes, exactly.
They don't get hurt, or your friends don't get hurt from it.
Yeah, exactly. That same idea of, like, but in this case, it's not that they can avoid it; it's that it doesn't matter if they avoid it or not because the damage can't hurt them.
Yes.
Which is a pretty cool trick. Second of all, I wanted to. I don't know if this is a breach of final thoughts, but I wanted to mention that I think as a I'm gonna bring something back, Mikey.
Let's hear it.
Monster Hunter, My Monster.
All right, Monster Hunter, My Monster. Haven't done that one in a while. Well,
that's all. All I was going to say was, if you collect the fragments of this flame skull, I think you can basically restrain, maybe as an alternative or in addition to doing the things here to stop them rejuvenating. I think if you, like, contain the remains in, like, some kind of appropriate canister or a flask, or maybe even like a scroll tube, that you can cast one of the spells it knows once, and that's all it does.
Yeah.
You know, you basically burn the last of its kind of arcane knowledge as one final attack, you know.
Yeah. and maybe also a Flameskull helmet. And you can make a helmet, and of course it can flame, and it'll burst in flame, kind of like a thaumaturgy kind of thing, where it just looks cool.
Yeah,
Good for intimidation.
Cool, yeah.
It can give you like resistance. We won't go to immunity, but maybe a bit of resistance to fire, or if you want to make it better than that. And another thing I really want to add in there is give yourself like a few charges of fire ray.
Yeah,
and
I
maybe
cool,
after the charges are gone, it's kind of one of those ones where you can get back some charges, but if they're gone, it just crumbles.
The
essence of it's gone or something. Maybe you can kind of say like that.
Exactly. I think you can kind of say, because it's not, if you it's like the only you could do some cool stuff. Like if you want to get complicated, you could do some cool stuff where it's like, oh, you can redirect the rejuvenative energy into making more charges or whatever, but then you're getting into dense rules. But yeah, I think at its core, just the idea of like, I like the idea of kind of almost having like this, this big kind of glass canister with these fragments floating inside it. And then you kind of, tap a plunger or like twist it, and then like it kind of glows momentarily, and then it casts one last spell before all the fragments inside like evaporate into dust.
Yeah, it's a very cool way of doing kind of spells for just any kind of magical creature. I think like that, kind of taking the essence of the monster and putting it in taking fragments of it. I think you could do it kind of depends on which monster will kind of suit. Like it suits the Flameskull and might suit other ones as well. But like it's cool. It's a cool way of doing it. I like it.
What about you?
It just reminds me of the Demi-Lich now. And I remember us not liking the Demi-Lich because it was kind of a high-level boss monster, but it didn't really need to be, or it didn't really need to be there. And I just remember us not really liking the Demi-Lich a lot.
If I recall correctly, a lot of that was also because the Demi-Lich was basically just a big spellcaster. They just had like a load of spells. I'm pretty sure they didn't do anything else. And I think that was the thing we didn't like about them.
It's like and it was also like it was like level 12 spellcaster, and then like a lich was like 15 or 17, 15 to 17 around that country. But it was just like, how can we just, if you want to do a lich, just wait a bit longer and then fight the lich,
Yeah, exactly. It felt like a very pale imitation, I think was the sense we got.
But like if you want to do a high level Flameskull, you could do that. But I think just the Flameskull as it is, it's good as like a jobber, as just as a pawn, a piece in the encounter, So I like the guy.
I like it, and I think the only thing I was going to say was his final thoughts. Like you say, kind of a jobber, and also, as we've already said, it's kind of having a unique feature and unique and obvious weakness is a great way for it to be a monster that's a problem in the world. Just like a starting, like, early on that there's like reports of random fires starting.
Oh yeah.
And maybe someone's like, yeah, I saw this spooky skull, so I hit it with my hammer and it broke. And then it came back the next day, and the idea of like its rejuvenation, meaning that like these ordinary people don't have a way to permanently stop it or don't understand that's what needs to be done. And they need someone like a wizard or a cleric who's kind of knowledgeable in these arcane arts to say, well, actually, you need to like basically put the spirit to rest, and that's the reason it's not stopping, and that's kind of the party's role.
And maybe like an area in your world, if you want, as well, where let's say there's like a undead forest, or even you can call like a dead forest, or a forest like a forest of flames, where it's a forest that is like burnt basically, and it's full of undead and Flameskulls, and then you could be like, oh, it's the forest isn't really lush because it's lush. Is that lush?
Yeah, lush. Yeah.
Lush.
No, lush is that's good.
The forest is very lush because it's the Flameskulls are flying around basically, and it's just causing fires here.
Yes,
so
I like that.
But this is where the undead kind of seem to spawn, because maybe there's another reason like you can come up with as a DM. Like there's undead juice in the soil or something.
I was going to also say undead juice. It's funny that you went there first. Undead juice got in the water. Everyone turned undead.
Everyone turned undead. Everyone's undead now.
It's like vampire rules,
Yeah. Wait, you vampired too? Oh crap! Must have been water. Must have been the chili I had last night.
Oh, it must have been someone's vampirized the town water supply. We're all vampires now.
I think that's it. I hope we came up with a few ideas for Flameskulls for people at home. I hope we have a good few there. Well, thank you very much for listening, folks. That's the Flameskull. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a monster you can throw in with your undead horde, and it will spice up your encounter and your adventure. So give it a go, folks. If you liked what you heard, and you haven't yet, consider following, subscribing, whatever you do on whatever podcast app you do, and whatever podcast app you like and you use, really. And yeah, you can leave us a review. That always helps. It's always good to get a little bit of testimonials from you, as we said at the start, where it's good to hear from you. And also helps kind of analytics of whatever, I think. Apparently it does.
Yeah, apparently it's big important on Apple, at least. I don't know about anything else. Couldn't tell you.
And rating, stuff like that. Whatever. If you want to go ahead, we're not going to do too many call to actions for you. But we have a Twitter at Creature Club Pod, or if you just look at Creature Club Podcast, you can see us there. We'll be putting up pictures of all these Flameskulls that we talk about during this episode and other episodes, and you can just talk to us there if you want. You can leave us you can at us, and you can ask us something. Which we got an at recently, actually, that I quite liked, from what was their name again? I need to go into Creature Club Pod, because they suggested a
oh yeah,
actually I think they sent a mail as well, so I'm gonna go with the mail.
Okay, you go for the mail, and I'll go on Twitter, because one of us has to go on.
Yes, because they suggested an episode idea, which I quite like, and Tim gave his few words on Twitter, but I'd like it so much that we might do a cunning action or a something like that for it. So what was it again? Hold on, here we go. It's from Andrew Kirka. I'm messy on Twitter, but I know y'all hate Twitter. Can you guys do an episode on game languages, where they originated, how they're used for different creatures and situations, how you should pick certain ones over others? By the way, big fan. Is there a donation button? There is no donation button, but thank you very much for thinking about doing that. But yes, a languages episode. Languages are very interesting in D&D. They're never used as much as the game wants you to, I guess. But I would love to do an episode based on them, I think, at some point. So, Andrew, we shall do that. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I would love to do it. I would love to do a languages episode. Alrighty. Cool. And anything else I missed, Stan, in the wrap up? I
don't think so. You mentioned that you mentioned our mail. We mentioned our Twitter. We haven't. Did we mention the website?
No. CreatureClubPodcast.com. That's our website. You can check the websites there. Contact us forum. You can check the website.
If you could check the websites there, that'd be great, because we haven't checked in a while.
You can. How's the website doing? Check out the website. It's
still there.
It's there. Sorry, you can check out the episodes there. That's what I was meant to say. And
that's fine.
Maybe at some point we should put more stuff on the website. But
oh god, I don't
yeah, and that's doing a website it's a lot of work. But the episodes are there. There's a contact us form that's there where you can mail us. And you can do all that stuff like that. You can. We always say you can send mail and maybe send a homebrew if you wanted to be in a Creature Club episode in the future. If you ever want to, if you feel like it, we do that. So you can send us homebrews and say that you want to be in the special, and then we'll put you in the special. That's how it works.
That's literally how it works.
Yeah, and that is it. Next time we shall talk in Creature Club, we'll talk about. I like this little guy. The Flumph. I'm looking forward to that.
So am I.
Any opinions on the Flumph, Dan?
I haven't read a lot about him, but I like his vibes. You know,
good vibe.
He's just sort of like, I look at that picture, I'm like, oh, this dude's like, I'm feeling good. Like, I'm feeling like I can relax now. You know?
You can hang out with a Flumph, I'd say. No problem. Just chill out on a beanbag. But we will get there,
beanbag, brother. That's what the Flumph says when you walk into the room.
Every time you fight.
Every time.
Pull up a beanbag, brother.
Pull up a beanbag, brother. Doesn't matter who you are. That's the first thing comes out of their mouth.
Yeah, and then there's like unlimited beanbags.
There's unlimited beanbags.
Where it is.
Yeah.
It's a layer action.
Yeah.
but everywhere it's his lair. Great, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Creature Cult Podcast. Next episode will be about something else. I have been Mikey.
And I've been Dan.
Stay cool. All right. Meat and potatoes.
I thought for a second you said beached and potatoes. And I was like...
Beached and potatoes.
Beached. And I was like, what's beached?
Beached.
And I was thinking of the Star Trek VCR board game where the Klingon says, experience beached.
No, I don't know that.
Well, Stephen will know it, so that's fine. He'll appreciate that reference.
The beast. I'm just thinking, like, you're saying kind of like beast in a
Irish,
like a West Ireland
beast.
kind of. You beast.
Yeah.
You leash the beast.
Beast from the East.
The beast. Remember the beast from the East? Remember that?
I do. Remember when we thought that was what the future was going to look like?
Yeah,
and not like this.
So the beast from the East, folks, was a. You might have been hit by it. Actually, it was just a big like snowstorm from like the East, from Russia. That hit Ireland and probably other places too, but we're just talking about Ireland today. And it was like a week of snow, and we don't get a lot of snow. And we
don't.
We were done. We were dushed. We were like,
it was mad. The country shut down. Basically, no one knew what to do.
Yes.
And so
my phone broke. I remember that, and it wasn't great.
Oh shit, that isn't great.
During that time,
our friend Jonathan, was stuck when he lived in that house with like 7 other people. He was stuck there with Jenny, so there was the 2 of them and like 7 other people, and apparently it was like a nightmare just because like 9 people in a house for like a week. It's like, yeah, it went about as well as you can expect.
Man. I hate to be there. That's just like a introvert's nightmare. But
yeah.
Right, we'll put this all at the end. We'll put this as a stinger at the end. I don't know why we brought this up. Okay, so